let's go ahead. Let me take care of some new business that's kind of a reflection of some old business. And if you're listening to this podcast, we appreciate your listen. We're always surprised at how many people choose to, partake of the John 1911 podcast, and we've definitely been very pleased with, when we opened it up for listener questions.
Yes.
However, if you are listening to this podcast, you will not be listening to it on YouTube. So I made a decision yesterday that we will be pulling the John 1911 podcast off of YouTube. The reason is YouTube is starting to censor our content retroactively, and it's always podcast stuff because we talk about topical things or political things or heaven forbid COVID, and so it's not like they're pulling stuff down 2 days after we publish it. They pull stuff down months after it's been up, and
Yeah, I
we,
mean
we
it's BS, but I mean there's other avenues to reach the podcast. We don't. I mean
yeah.
it
My
sucks,
my my
but
appeal for YouTube has always been that it reaches new people. Most people that listen to the podcast discover us on YouTube,
yeah,
and because they don't really find us on the podcast apps, because the podcast apps, I don't think we're really big enough or significant enough for them to recommend us, and I think you'd have to try pretty hard to find us. So what I might consider doing, and I probably will, is I will publish snippets from maybe episodes. I mean, depending on how hard it is, I'm not going to work extra hard for YouTube,
yeah,
but you may come into our YouTube feed and hear a 5 minute conversation or a 10 minute cut of something we discussed that I feel like might pull new people in, but also YouTube's not going to kick us in the ass for it. So um, it's just and our regulars will know this. I tried for about, say, 10 days to maybe censor my language a little bit, and already listen to this podcast, you know how well that worked. So I mean, my mental ability to censor anything, I mean, even innocently, is obviously zero. And I don't want to give YouTube a reason to knock the videos off their feeds, because that's the only place people discover us. YouTube's pretty important. That's where everybody is. They discover us. I know everyone that talks about float plane and rumble and all these different things, but there's nobody over there.
yeah.
And the plan has always been, if YouTube deletes our channel, we'll just start up. We start up with John 1911 channel 2 with 0 subscribers, and then use that to pump people to the website. So
Yeah,
obviously the podcast isn't going to be a good fit for YouTube, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it. So at least I don't
I
have to worry
think
about it.
I think that's a good idea.